Hi everyone, happy Sunday. One thing that is certain is that we all get angry sometimes, and it can be really helpful in those moments to ask, what is it telling us? In the Gospel this Sunday, Jesus also gets angry, and we know that that doesn't happen so often. So it can be really helpful to ask, what is it telling us? So Jesus walks into the temple, we can read in the Gospel today, and he sees the money changers, and he sees those who are selling the different animals for the sacrifices. And it's interesting to see who he speaks to, because it gives us a little bit of an idea of why Jesus was angry. He spoke to the dove sellers. So we can see from that, knowing that it would have only been the wealthy who would have been able to afford the cattle and the lambs, that those who could buy the doves were the poor. Jesus is speaking directly to those who are exploiting the poor, who are exploiting the church, making them realize, hey, you're all part of one body. Why are you exploiting yourself by exploiting the poor? Today we celebrate the feast of St. John Lateran, and that's actually the Cathedral of Rome, and it represents the whole church, the whole body of Christ. And it's very beautiful. In front of that cathedral, there's this big statue of St. Francis of Assisi. And St. Francis of Assisi actually understood in his first call, his first experience with God, this invitation to rebuild the church, to rebuild God's church. And at the beginning, he thought that meant just fixing a physical building that he had been in. But little by little, he came to understand what that meant. To rebuild the body of Christ, to rebuild this understanding that we all belong to one another. And so he learnt in the process to imitate Christ, to live a life of service, of faith through love. At the end of the Gospel today, we also hear about Jesus who says to the Pharisees, well, yes, just go ahead and destroy the church. In 3 days, I will build it up. And we can perhaps understand this as Jesus saying, I am with the poor. You might harm them, but I will be with them in their pain, their death, and their rising. And so we can understand that as our invitation today, to be collaborators with Christ in this rebuilding of the church, in this growing, in this understanding of who we are, and to see each other as who we are, as belonging to one another, to recognize who it is that we belong to. May we live as one body of Christ, seeing each other as one people, as a church, people who are called to build one another up. Happy Sunday, everyone.